Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you for a moment, especially to the women who are confused, hurt, and questioning their worth. Sometimes a man doesn't stay away because he doesn't love you. Sometimes he stays away because he loves you too much, and that's hard to understand. A man who loves you deeply knows what you mean to him. And when a man realizes that a woman has the power to change his life, that scares him. Not because you did something wrong, but because love forces him to look at himself. It makes him ask, am I ready? Am I enough? Can I protect her heart? A man may stay away because love forces him to confront his own shortcomings. And that confrontation is something many men are not emotionally prepared for. When a man truly loves a woman, he doesn't just see her beauty, kindness, or presence in his life. He sees what she represents. She becomes a mirror. Through her, he begins to see who he is, and more importantly, who he is not yet. Love has a way of exposing the gaps between where a man stands and where he believes he should be. And that realization can be deeply uncomfortable. Men are raised to believe their value lies in strength, stability, and success. From a young age, they are taught, sometimes silently, sometimes loudly, that they must be providers, protectors, and problem solvers. So when a man falls in love and realizes he is still struggling with direction, finances, emotional maturity, or self-control, it creates an internal conflict. He starts to feel like he is standing in front of something precious while holding empty hands. The love he feels becomes mixed with fear, because now he is aware of what he could lose. This is where distance begins. Not because the love fades, but because it grows heavier. He starts questioning himself constantly. Am I ready to lead? Can I offer her security? What if I disappoint her? What if I fail and she sees me as weak? These thoughts don't come from a lack of desire to be with her. They come from the pressure of wanting to be worthy of her. And instead of communicating these fears, many men retreat into silence. Stepping away feels safer than being exposed. A man in this state often believes that staying close while feeling inadequate will eventually harm the woman he loves. He fears that his unfinished life, unresolved issues, or emotional confusion will spill into her world. So he convinces himself that distance is an act of protection. He tells himself that until he becomes better, stronger, or more stable, he shouldn't be present. In his mind, love demands readiness. And if he's not ready, absence feels more honorable than inconsistency. There's also shame tied to this behavior. Men struggle to admit insecurity, especially to the woman whose respect matters most to them. Opening up would require vulnerability. And vulnerability feels like failure when a man believes he should already have answers. So instead of saying, I'm not where I want to be, he says nothing at all. Instead of asking for understanding, he disappears. He assumes that a woman deserves a man who is complete, not one who is still becoming. This is why a deeply loving man may pull away right when the connection feels strongest. Love has awakened something inside him, but it has also highlighted his unfinished work. And until he learns that growth does not require isolation and that love can exist alongside imperfection, distance becomes his coping mechanism. Men fear failing the woman they deeply love, and that fear can become so powerful that it dictates their behavior more than love itself. When a man truly cares, he doesn't think only about how he feels in the moment. He thinks about the future and the expectations that come with being someone's emotional and life partner. Love for him is not just romance, it is responsibility. And when he believes he may not be able to meet that responsibility, fear takes over. A man who loves deeply understands that his actions will affect a woman's heart, her peace, and her sense of security. He knows that words alone are not enough. Consistency, reliability, and protection matter. This awareness creates pressure. If he is unsure about his career, finances, emotional readiness, or personal stability, he begins to imagine scenarios where he lets her down. He pictures missed promises, emotional distance, or moments when she needs him and he cannot show up fully. That imagined failure weighs heavily on him. Unlike women, many men process fear silently. They don't always express anxiety through conversation. They express it through withdrawal. In his mind, staying close while feeling incapable is more dangerous than stepping away. He would rather remove himself temporarily than risk being the man who disappoints the woman he loves. This is not logic driven by confidence, it is driven by dread. He believes that once a woman sees his flaws, struggles, or limitations, her love and respect will fade. There is also pride involved. A man's pride is closely tied to his sense of usefulness. He wants to feel needed, strong, and dependable. When he feels unsure of his ability to provide emotional or material security, his pride suffers. Instead of admitting, "I'm scared I might fail you," he creates distance to preserve the image he believes he must maintain. Silence becomes his way of controlling the narrative, even though it creates confusion and pain. Fear of failure also comes from past experiences. If a man has failed before, whether in relationships, career, or family, responsibilities, those memories resurface when he falls in love again. Love triggers old wounds. He remembers the disappointment in someone's eyes, the guilt of not being enough, or the regret of losing someone important to him. Staying away feels like preventing history from repeating itself. Ironically, this fear exists only because the love is real. A man who doesn't care will stay present without concern, make empty promises, and walk away without hesitation. But a man who loves deeply is careful, sometimes too careful. He believes that love should be protected from his shortcomings, even if that means removing himself, until a man understands that perfection is not a requirement for love and that partnership is built through honesty and growth. Fear of failure can keep him at a distance. His absence is not proof of indifference. It is proof of how much he is afraid to lose what he values most. Silence often means internal struggle, not lack of feelings, and this is one of the most misunderstood behaviors in men. When a man goes quiet, many assume his emotions have faded or that his interest has disappeared. In reality, silence is frequently the language men use when they are overwhelmed. It is not the absence of emotion. It is the weight of too many emotions at once. Men are conditioned from an early age to manage problems internally. They are taught to handle it, to stay composed, and to avoid burdening others with their struggles. So when emotions become complicated love mixed with fear, hope mixed with uncertainty, they retreat inward. Talking feels risky because they don't yet have clear answers. And men, especially, dislike speaking before they understand their own thoughts. Silence gives them space to process without exposing vulnerability. When a man loves deeply, the stakes feel higher. Every word matters. Every reaction feels significant. He worries that saying the wrong thing could damage the connection or reveal doubts he hasn't resolved. So instead of communicating half-formed thoughts, he chooses quiet. He believes that staying silent is safer than speaking from confusion. But unfortunately, what feels like self-control to him feels like rejection to the woman on the other side. Silence is also a defense mechanism. When life pressures pile up, work stress, financial worries, family responsibilities, or unresolved personal issues, a man may not know how to explain what he is carrying. Rather than admitting he is struggling, he withdraws. Silence becomes a shield that protects him from feeling exposed, judged, or misunderstood. He convinces himself that once things settle, he will speak again with clarity and confidence. There's also fear in silence. Fear of being seen as weak. Fear of not having solutions. Fear of disappointing someone he cares about. A man may believe that expressing uncertainty will make him appear unstable or incapable, so he keeps his feelings locked inside, hoping time will help him regain control. In his mind, strength is quiet endurance, not emotional disclosure. Silence does not mean absence of thought. In fact, a silent man often thinks constantly. He replays conversations, analyzes his actions, and imagines future outcomes. He may care deeply, but his care turns inward rather than outward. While the woman feels ignored, he feels trapped in his own head, trying to sort out emotions he was never taught how to express. This behavior is not intentional cruelty. It is a learned response to emotional complexity. Men who communicate through silence often believe they are protecting both themselves and the woman they love from unnecessary confusion. They assume that once they are emotionally steady, communication will naturally return. Understanding this does not erase the pain silence causes, but it explains its origin. Silence, in many cases, is not the absence of love. It is the presence of struggle that a man does not yet know how to share. He may step back to protect you from his instability. And this decision often comes from a place of conflicted care rather than emotional detachment. When a man recognizes that his life is unsettled emotionally, mentally, financially, or spiritually, he becomes aware that instability does not exist in isolation. It spills. It affects everyone close to him. If he truly loves a woman, the thought of pulling her into chaos feels unbearable. So he chooses distance, believing it is the lesser harm. A man who values a woman deeply does not want her life to become heavy because of him. If he is struggling with anger, confusion, insecurity, or unresolved trauma, he fears those struggles will eventually touch her heart. He imagines arguments he cannot handle well, moments where his frustration leaks into his tone, or situations where his uncertainty causes her anxiety. Even if she is willing to stand by him, he questions whether it is fair to ask her to do so. In his mind, love should add peace, not pressure. This mindset often develops in men who are self-aware. He knows he is not at his best, and that awareness brings guilt. He believes that staying present while unstable would be selfish. So he convinces himself that stepping away is an act of maturity. He tells himself that once he regains control, finds direction, or heals internally, he can return as a better man. Until then, distance feels like responsibility. There's also fear of causing emotional damage. A man who is uncertain about himself may be inconsistent warm one day, distant the next. He knows inconsistency confuses and hurts. Rather than put a woman through emotional ups and downs, he opts for absence. In his reasoning, absence is predictable. While instability is painful, he would rather be missed than become the source of emotional turbulence in her life. Past experiences play a role here as well. If he has seen relationships fall apart because of his lack of readiness or emotional volatility, those memories influence his decisions. He remembers the regret of hurting someone unintentionally. That regret shapes caution. Love activates his desire to protect, and protection to him sometimes means removing himself from the situation entirely. However, this protective distance is flawed. While his intention may be to shield her, he underestimates the pain his absence creates. He assumes she will understand or move on more easily than she does. He forgets that silence and distance can wound just as deeply as instability. Still, in his mind, he is choosing what feels like the most controlled option in an uncontrollable phase of life. This behavior reflects a man who equates love with responsibility, but has not yet learned that true protection also includes honesty and presence. Until he believes that a woman can choose whether to walk beside him through instability, may continue to step back, convinced that distance is an act of care rather than avoidance. True love returns when the man becomes ready, because genuine emotion. Attachment does not disappear simply because distance exists. When a man has loved deeply, that connection stays with him even while he is away. Time and space may silence communication, but they do not erase emotional memory. A man may leave physically or emotionally, yet the imprint of the woman he loves continues to influence his thoughts, decisions, and growth. When a man steps away, especially for reasons tied to fear, inadequacy, or instability, his absence is often spent in self-evaluation. He reflects on what the relationship meant to him and what it revealed about himself. Love becomes a reference point. He measures future experiences against it and realizes that what he felt was rare. This realization matures over time, not instantly. Readiness is not sudden. It is built through internal shifts, lessons learned, and personal accountability. A man becomes ready when he aligns his actions with his feelings. Earlier, his emotions may have been strong but unsupported by stability or clarity. Readiness happens when he understands that love is not about being perfect, but about being present and consistent. It is when he accepts that growth can happen alongside commitment, not only before it. This shift in mindset transforms fear into responsibility and distance into intention. During this period, the woman he loved remains significant. He remembers how she made him feel understood, supported, or inspired to become better. These memories do not haunt him. They guide him. They remind him of the kind of partner he wants to be and the standards he must meet. Love, in this sense, becomes a motivator rather than a source of pressure. When a man is truly ready, his return is different from his departure. He no longer comes back confused or inconsistent. He comes back with clarity. He knows what he wants and what he can offer. There is purpose behind his actions and accountability behind his words. Readiness shows in consistency, not promises. He understands that love requires effort, communication, and courage, not avoidance. It is important to understand that not every man who leaves returns, but every man who truly loved carries that connection until he resolves what pushed him away. If he does return, it is because love survived the distance, and he finally developed the capacity to honor it. His return is not about loneliness or convenience. It is about alignment between who he is and who he wants to be in love. This process cannot be rushed or forced. Readiness is internal. A man must arrive at it on his own through growth and self-awareness. When he does, love no longer feels like a threat, it feels like home. A woman should never chase love that isn't fully showing up, because love that requires pursuit often lacks readiness and balance. When a man is distant, inconsistent, or emotionally unavailable, chasing him places the woman in a position of proving her worth rather than being valued for it. Love was never meant to be earned through exhaustion, anxiety, or self-sacrifice. It is meant to be mutual, clear, and secure. When a woman chases, she unintentionally teaches a man that effort is optional. Her constant reaching fills the gap created by his absence, allowing him to remain passive while still receiving emotional benefits. Over time, this dynamic creates imbalance. She invests more, hopes more, and waits more, while he remains uncertain or detached. This imbalance slowly erodes her self-esteem, even if her intentions come from care and patience. Chasing also distracts a woman from listening to behavior. Actions communicate truth more honestly than words. If a man truly wants to be present, he will find ways to show up, even imperfectly. Distance, silence, and inconsistency are messages in themselves. By chasing, a woman overrides those messages and replaces them with hope. Hope, when unsupported by action, becomes a source of pain rather than strength. There is also emotional cost. Chasing keeps a woman in a state of waiting and anxiety. She becomes preoccupied with when he will respond, whether she said the right thing, or how to keep his attention. This constant mental effort drains energy that could be invested in her growth, joy, and peace. Love should expand a woman's life, not shrink it into constant anticipation. Self-respect is central here. A woman who values herself understands that love does not require convincing. She knows that someone who is meant to be with her will not leave her guessing about her importance. By choosing not to chase, she sets a standard. Her presence is valuable, and her absence should be felt. This is not manipulation, it is self-preservation. Not chasing also allows space for truth to reveal itself. When a woman steps back and focuses on her own life, a man is forced to confront his own level of commitment. If he truly cares and is capable, he will move toward her If he does not, his absence provides clarity. Either outcome protects her from prolonged confusion. Letting go of the urge to chase is an act of strength. It means trusting that what is meant for her will meet her with equal effort. It means choosing dignity over desperation and peace over uncertainty. Love that is real does not require pursuit. It arrives with intention, consistency, and respect.